Hello and welcome. Jenny Hall here for Trinity Stamps Creative Team. Today I would like to share a bookmark that I created for my son. I'm going to be using Make a Monster die set, narrow card, and bookmark die set, the SLIMLINE Scenic Borders die set, Hello Sentimini stamp set, and a Trinity Stamps Blending Buddy. I recently created this bookmark for my husband for Valentine's Day, and he liked it so much, and my son liked it as well, that he requested I make a bookmark for him. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to make a die cut of every single thing that is in the Make a Monster set. And I came up with putting some of the items together to where it looked enough like a monster that I thought my son would appreciate. I'm going to use Distress Oxides on the die cut of the bookmark. This is a perfectly sized bookmark, and the die set of the narrow card and bookmark dies has so many dies inside of it that I could customize just like I did the very first bookmark. However, because this one is for my son, I thought it would be interesting to mix up my dies and make it look like a monster. So I'm starting out with some very light greens, mixing and coming into a little bit of a darker green. And instead of making the look of grass, I am going to use this negative space of the grass die to create the look of fur or fuzz or just some kind of texture for the monster that is going to be on the bookmark. I did this in the original bookmark to make the look of actual grass, but I thought this would be another way I could show you exactly how that look was created. Now I have all of my pieces that are die cut from thick white cardstock, and I've paired them up to make sure that I have enough to be able to make this monster. So I'm going to customize all the die cuts with some Copic markers. You could use colored cardstock, or it would be really easy to ink blend some of the pieces, especially since the stuff is already out to do all the ink blending. But I thought Copic markers would get me the quickest way from zero to the finish line. So I'm taking some very light colors, especially like on this eyeball, and I added a very light gray around the outside and then kind of worked it out in the middle to where the eyeball is not going to look gray. It's going to look white, but even a flat white die cut just looks a little too flat. It looks a bit more natural if I add a little bit of color. Some of the pieces that I use, I believe I have repurposed, that they were not maybe intended to be used to put together an eye or a mouth or a horn. Maybe they are pieces that are extra die cut negative space. Whenever I create die cuts, I oftentimes will pull a piece of the die that's not intended to be used, and it just kind of seems to fit into a scene. So that's what I believe I've done here. So it would be really fun to go and check out exactly what you can come up with all of the extra bits, including the pieces that are die cut, and maybe come up with a little something new. So I'm going to add all of the colors and make sure that I'm saturating the marker into all of these die cuts. The reason is because this is thick white cardstock, and I want to especially make sure around the edges that the color goes all the way down through the paper, and so I won't have any like white spaces left over on the edge of the paper. Another way to take care of that would be to go around the edge of the die cut with a Copic marker or a dye ink marker. I put together several of the pieces for the little monster's mouth, and before I realized that there was another piece that was intended for the monster's mouth. But I think this came out well enough. And I'm giving a little bit of a highlight look to the tongue by using a red and a pink together, doing the pink closest to the edge of the tongue and the red closer in the back of the tongue. For the teeth, just like coloring the eyeball, I wanted to make sure that I got some gray around the outsides. Then I went back in with a much lighter marker, or you could use the 0 marker, the colorless blender, and that would be an easy way to push that gray away from the middle part. Now the arms and the single eyebrow for the monster I thought would be better if they matched exactly. I have some markers that will come really close, but I went ahead and added the same ink blended colors that I used. So I'm going to start assembling and putting some of these things together, and I'm keeping in mind that this is for my son and he's 6 years old, so I need to make sure I really stick the pieces down so that he's not able to pry them up. And I'm just using some liquid glue to put most of it together. And as you can see, it goes together so easy. The most fun part about this project was just figuring out exactly how to build a monster. It was like putting together a puzzle, but being able to choose exactly what pieces I wanted to use, knowing they were all going to go together. In the die set, there are several different options for the arms and the horns and the eyes. There's even a pair of eyeglasses for the monster, for any monster you choose to build. And in fact, I had created another monster that is actually a card. And I'll bring that in and show you in just a little bit of the video. But I wanted this bookmark to kind of be a companion to the small card that I created, because my son has claimed that card. If this monster looks familiar, it's because I kind of modeled it after a character in one of my son's favorite movies. I made the card to look like one of his characters, so I needed to make the bookmark kind of look like the other character. One way to keep everything down in place is to lay a book or a very big stamping block on top of all the glued pieces, or you can use your MISTI tool, and those magnets are really strong. I put a little bit of a sentiment, and it's from the Hello Sentimini stamp set, and it says, hey there, sunshine, which is what I call my son is Sunshine. And I realized that I had a black sparkle pen, and it makes just that dot of the eye stand out. It doesn't make it glossy. Now here's the other monster that I created with the same die set, but I made him on a little card. Thank you guys so much for joining us at Trinity Stamps today. And if you haven't yet done so, please subscribe and ring that bell to find out when you'll get to see your next video.